As humans, we say things we don't mean, or we don't say something to avoid conflict. It's a practice many are guilty of, and this practice has a name. It's called self-silencing. So we silence who we are so other people don't see the real us. But my next guest says when we get caught up in other people's expectations, we actually lose sight of us altogether. Researcher and educator Amber Price joining me to share ways we can end our own self-silencing. It's great to have you. Great to meet you.
Great to be here.
And ever since I knew this topic was bubbling up on the Studio 5 radar maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I've started to see it pop up, the term self-silencing everywhere. Would you call it a movement or kind of a buzz phrase right now?
I actually haven't ever heard anyone else talking about it, other than on a research level where I'm doing research around it, but
where you're living. So it could be something that we might be hearing a little bit more about. How do we know, Amber, if this is something that we're doing, self-silencing?
First of all, I think probably most of us, all of us, are doing it at some level or another. But it's kind of just this idea that you're doing things that you think other people want you to do, and you're not doing things that you think other people don't want you to do because you're living your life seeking others' approval. And that's just a common thing these days. So that's maybe why you've been hearing a lot about it.
So coming down to maybe expectations or perceived expectations, there's it sounds like there might be a tone of perfectionism in there a little bit as we try to please. Well, let's get into some signs of this in real life, in active conversations and relationships. And people might say, hey, I see myself. That's a mirror. It's a mirror moment, right? Where I see myself in what you're saying. People pleasing.
People pleasing is a big one, right? And we all know what people pleasing is, and we probably all know that we do it sometimes. It's just that idea that you're doing something that you don't really want to do, but you're doing it because you think other people want you to do it. That's not being genuine to yourself. It's not really, it's kind of stifling who you actually are. You're not doing the things that feel good to you. That's not great.
I made a big shift in this department when I started having kids, about 5 or 6 years ago, and being very cautious and careful when I said yes, because you want to show up genuine, right? Sincerely happy to be there, or happy to contribute, or happy to serve. Why do you think this is so hard for women to shake off the people-pleasing
I think we're taught that that's a lot of where our worth is, right? Like, we do things for others. We love and we care and we serve for others, which is all good and wonderful and great. But when we think that we have to do that in order to be a good woman, a good mom, a good wife, a good person, that's when it gets really tricky.
And I'm glad you made that distinction. We want to do these things. We want to show up and serve and even extend ourselves a little bit, right? For a lot of women, that would kind of speak to their life mission or their life values, but it's just the intention. How and why we're approaching it. All right, next you say if we're endlessly serving, we're overly giving, that kind of ties back into what we were talking about. You want to do it from a sincere place.
Yeah. What's your motivation? What's your desire? Like, why are you doing this? I think a good reminder of that can be the line from Encanto with Luisa and Surface Pressure. I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service. That kind of rings true to a lot of us sometimes. We think that's where our value lies. But you have value and worth beyond just what you're doing for other people.
Regardless, just as you are. Not speaking up, you say, is another sign of self-silencing.
Yeah, that can be a big one too. Sometimes we don't say what we think or what we need or what we want, and that can happen in like a romantic relationship or any other, like a friendship, any sort of relationship. And it can also happen in like a big group setting. Research shows that in large group settings, often women don't speak up if men are present, and that's a form of self-silencing too, not saying what you have to say.
How do we stop doing these things? If we see ourselves in the people-pleasing or in the overextension of service, how do we put a stop to it?
That can sound a little overwhelming, right? Like, it's happening a lot, but I think the first thing is to start seeing where you are doing it. So the things that we've just talked about, where do you see yourself doing those things? And then I think the most helpful thing is to check your motivation. Why am I doing the things I'm doing? Am I motivated by a desire to make other people happy or to avoid conflict? Those two things would be self-silencing. Or am I motivated by a genuine desire to do this thing? I genuinely desire to serve this person, or I genuinely desire to do whatever it is that you're doing. Where's your motivation in that?
And what does the research show? How can this negatively impact our relationships if we continue to self-silence repetitively?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, if I'm showing up to a relationship and I'm just sort of being my pseudo self, right? I'm stifling my real thoughts. I'm not really being who I am. I'm more concerned about being responsible for others. Then I'm not really being me. And who are you actually going to connect with then? If somebody's not actually showing you themselves, then how can you really form a relationship? It's when we show our vulnerabilities and show who we really are that we really connect with other people.
And as we flip that script and try to find a stronger voice or a stronger presence in our life and in how we serve others, how can we believe in that voice and really find confidence in what we're saying and why we're saying it?
I think sometimes it can be helpful to think about this in the concept, think about somebody else that you really look up to and admire, other people that have really touched your lives.
Okay.
And do you think they're perfect? Do you think they're flawless? No, like we all recognize that other people have flaws. So why do we hold ourselves to different standards? Why do we think we have to reach these idealized standards? And instead, give yourself a little grace and show up as who you are and let other people see who you are. Let other people see your weaknesses and flaws, because that's when they're going to connect with you. And that's when you can really be yourself and really make a difference in the world.
It's important work, and themes of this have been showing up, I guess, for the last several years, but clearly it's work that we still need to chip away at, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
lean into. Amber, thank you so much. Where can we go to find more from you?
I've got a website. It's just amberaprice.com. And then on Instagram, same thing, amber.a.price.
All right. Thanks for the heads up of the coaching. We appreciate it.
Thanks.